Hello everyone and welcome to another video with Coach B from MasterChess.com. In today's video, we will go over endgames with opposite color bishops and separated pawns. This endgame is more frequent and more complex than when the pawns are connected. As a general rule, the more separated the pawns are, the greater their winning chances. Analyzing the work of Jesus de Villa and Jeremy Silman, I've synthesized this topic into 3 videos. In this first video, we will look at 3 clear drawing scenarios that everybody needs to know, which will also include pawns being separated by one file. In the second video, we will look at all the scenarios when the pawns are separated by 2 files. And in the last video, we will look at the positions where the pawns are separated by 3 or more files. So let's get started. The first clear draw is when one of the 2 pawns is a wrong color rook pawn, which means that the queening square of the rook pawn is on the opposite color of his bishop. Here, no matter how separated or how advanced the pawns are, the result just depends on the success or failure of the defending side in bringing his king in the corner and giving up the bishop for the other pawn. So in this position, it's black to move, and this is a dead draw. We can see that white has a rook pawn that is on the wrong color, since he's going to queen on a light square while his bishop covers the dark squares. All black needs to do is simply march towards the corner with the king after something like bishop to e3, king to b7, and there's nothing that white can do here to prevent black from reaching a draw. Black's bishop will simply sacrifice itself for the pawn on the f-file, while the black king will simply stay in the corner. After something like f5, bishop to a2, king to g5, bishop to b3, pawn to f6, bishop to a2, king to g6, bishop to b3. As soon as the pawn reaches f7, black will sacrifice his bishop, and a draw will be achieved. Even though black doesn't have a bishop anymore, we know that this is a dead draw when the rook pawn is of the wrong color of the bishop, as the stalemate position will be achieved. The next clear draw scenario involves pawns that are separated by one file. For these positions, if the defending king and bishop occupy the right blockade, then the ending is always drawn. This blockade includes the defending king being in front of both pawns, covering both squares that are the same color as his bishop. And also his bishop needs to be able to control the pawn which is supported by the strong king. In this setup, a draw is always achieved, and it doesn't matter if white has the move. After something like bishop to b3, all that black needs to do is simply stay on the diagonal that will attack the pawn that is protected by the white king. So after something like bishop to f4, white cannot make any progress. If he pushes the pawn to c7, black will simply take that pawn, and after pawn to e7 check, the black king can simply capture the pawn on e7, giving up the bishop, as this is a drawn game. Obviously, if there would be a third pawn on the board, this game would be winning for white. Coming back, after bishop to f4, even if white will try to do something different, it's not going to work. After something like king to b6, bishop to d6, king to b5, bishop to c7, king to c4, bishop to d6, king to d5, bishop to c7, king to e4, bishop to d6, and here black needs to be careful. After king to f5, black will need to cover the e7 square, as the pawn on the e-file is the one supported by the white king now. So after something like bishop to c7, king to f6, bishop to d6, as white threatens to move the pawn to e7, now the black bishop needs to stay on the a3 to e7 diagonal. So after king to f7, the correct response will be bishop to b4. White cannot make any progress. And here's the last drawing scenario that you need to know. If the defending bishop can restrain both pawns along the same diagonal with support from the king, the ending is drawn no matter the distance between the pawns. The pawn on f3 cannot march to f4 as he's being attacked by 2 pieces, the black bishop and the black king, while white only defends it with 1 king. So because black has 2 attackers, we only have 1 defender, white cannot make this progress. As soon as the pawn marches to f4, black bishop can simply capture it, and white cannot capture back. Coming back, the only other try that white has here is trying to march with the king to the pawn on d6. For example, king to d5. Here, black needs to make sure that he's going to be able to fight for the c7 square together with his king. So the correct response here will be king to f6, after king to c5, king to e7, king to b5. Here the bishop can simply retreat, let's say bishop to f4. After king to b6, the black king will march to d8, where he's going to be able to fight together with the bishop for the c7 square. Therefore, white will not be able to push the pawn or make any progress. So these are the 3 drawing scenarios that everybody needs to know, and I encourage you to practice them on my website, masteryourchess.com. All you need to do is click on Endgame versus Computer, opposite color bishops, and then you can go to the separated pawns and play against the computer. Thank you for watching this video, and I encourage you to stay tuned for the next video where we're going to take a look at all the positions where the pawns are separated by 2 files. Thank you and have a great day.